And I'm just looking at the camera saying,
Yeah, you could look at me, look at the camera, whatever you're most
okay,
comfortable with.
okay.
So, what have you heard about AI?
What I've heard about AI specifically relates to the education realm, um, and mostly from students and their ability um, or inability to use AI um, at their local school districts. The little bit of research I've done in AI, I know that it spreads across many avenues such as food production and healthcare, environmental things, and of course education. So um, kind of reminds me of when I heard of the World Wide Web many years ago. So it's one of those sort of uncharted waters for me at this point.
So, do you think AI will have any impact in the world of teaching or insurance?
Oh, for sure, for sure. I'll start with the world of teaching first. I dabbled around a little bit in AI this year with helping to produce some lesson plans, generate some ideas for some things that I may have not, excuse me, thought about, and integrating some new and exciting things into my curriculum with the help of AI. So I'm excited about that part of it. As far as the world of insurance, absolutely. I know that the little bit of reading that I've done with AI and the actuarial science piece of the industry and maybe helping the agency side out, helping the claims side out. So I know that it's already filtered its way in, and you sort of think about what jobs it may affect or what jobs it may sort of take over. I don't know in entirety, but it's definitely going to affect the insurance industry, pros and cons to all facets that it's going to touch. But
Yeah, so I'd love to hear more about, like you mentioned, your students use it. I'd love to
mhm.
hear more about that as well as like specifics on like how you used it for lesson planning.
Okay, so I allowed my students to try using AI to generate cover letters this year before mock interviews, and I said they know how to use it. I don't need to teach anybody. They're more savvy than I, but using AI to produce a cover letter when you're a junior or a senior in high school, plugging in a few keywords and letting the technology know that you want to produce a cover letter sometimes yields a document that is far surpasses a junior or senior's vocabulary or I said, when you write this, it's going to sound like a rocket scientist wrote it. So use it to get started to sort of beef up what you want to say so it doesn't sound so cookie cutter. But then you're also going to have to tone it down or tweak it because when somebody's receiving your cover letter, and it's typically people that are Gen X, maybe they're baby boomers, they're looking for authentic work. And if they're getting a cover letter that sounds like, it's a doctoral thesis, then they know you didn't write it. And I think in that sense, people want to know who you are, what your abilities are. And if you're letting AI generate verbatim, I don't know if that's a good indicator of who you really are. And then using it for lesson plans, I thought it was pretty awesome. We had a teacher at the beginning of last school year go over some different sites that were free and that we could test out to try to produce some lesson plans. And I was pretty excited about it because there were days I like to be authentic and like to put some creativity and change things up each year. But with the help of AI, I was able to produce lesson plans that maybe had some deeper thinking, more critical thinking, problem solving, and ideas that I wouldn't have thought of or didn't have time to, generate on my own. So that was a plus.
So to summarize that it's a great technology. It's not great if you're just like, hey, do my work for me, but
Right.
you have to be authentic and it can really help, save time.
Sure. I
Yeah.
think, yeah, it's going to be a tool again in the education realm, like I mentioned, healthcare. That would take on a whole new um, a completely different focus in healthcare, and like I said, food production and things of that nature. But as far as education, I think it's a tool that will allow students to be efficient. What worries me, I think, the most is that students may lose their ability to be critical thinkers and problem solvers and communicators. Um, Depends on what they're using it for, but in the sense I talked about resumes and cover letters, things like that. Um, I just hope that their abilities to do those types of things are not lost, because there are moments in life and sectors of personal lives that require a person to use their mind and their thoughts, and not to rely on AI. So,
Of course.
yeah.
So, you're expressing concerns about like students just being lazy and just wanting to get the assignment done.
Mhm.
So, what would you say to a student um, who you're worried maybe just kind of wanting technology to just do his work for him?
Well, the student, I think that who is going to rely on AI, um, is probably going to rely on AI. I don't think an educator saying, you know, you need to do this or you shouldn't rely on it so much. I think um, that students are going to do what is most efficient for them. And I think they're going to see AI as a tool to help them out. Um, but I would just encourage them to continue to be lifelong learners and really embrace education and learning and technology. But I don't know if you can tell somebody to use it in the right way. And
So, um, obviously, you've mentioned that there are students in your class using AI.
Mhm.
What are some ways that you would consider like monitoring that or making sure people aren't just like being lazy, that they're, using it in a way that's authentic and still represents them?
Oh boy, as far as monitoring it, I know when and English teachers, I'm sure, struggle with this all of the time, with students having to write papers and running it through another sort of software system to find out if it's plagiarism. And you know, those are, I guess, some avenues to monitor it. But I think I know my students well enough to know what their abilities are and what their writing levels are. And my curriculum's a little bit different, Sam, that they're not producing a lot of reports and a lot of items that I would need to monitor. I mean, I would encourage them to, you know, with our management memo briefs and some of the career things that we do, to use it as a tool um, to help get the job done. But, you know, maybe as far as monitoring, that's a great question. You know, how, and then once they produce something with AI, having to redo it in their own sort of realm is, I don't know, that's a challenge. That's something I have to think about.
So you mentioned back at mock interviews how you let students use AI to create their cover letters. Could you give a little bit of background about mock interviews, how it prepares students for the real world, as well as the results, good and bad, of AI cover
Yeah.
letters?
So again, that component of life where you have to be you, you have to be authentic, you have to know how to speak in front of somebody. And you know, if you're letting a tool write things for you and compose and you know, sort of sorry, I just lost my train of thought.
No, it's okay.
If you're letting a tool commandeer everything you do, you would have a very difficult time sitting down in a situation, which is what mock interviews are intended for, to get you comfortable in an interview situation. Because I think the employer still, they want to see the paper part, and they would be super impressed with what AI has to produce as far as a resume and a cover letter. But when you are sitting face to face with somebody who wants to employ you, you have to be your authentic self. And I think there's going to be a big disconnect. And that's why I told my students, when
Well, we got some of that. We can go back over a few things.
Okay. Do you know where it left off, or you're just gonna?
Not without going through everything.
Okay.
First, like 10-ish minutes, I think we got.
Okay.
Let's see. I mean, it's not too bad because with this, I'm not like keeping the entire interview. I'm just
Right.
like getting
Bits
a
and
couple
pieces. Yeah.
couple segments. So, um,
So maybe you asked me about students using it in the classroom and for mock interviews and sort of. I don't know if that was kind of toward the end. Or industry. How do I think?
Well, let's see. One thing I definitely want to cover is like um I want to definitely talk about the mock interview thing because I think that has the strongest connection to like direct real world application.
Mm-hmm.
I think I figured out what's wrong with this. So at the Wilson Talent Center, you teach a business and risk management course. You talk about professionalism and jobs, everything like that. And you have so you let your students use AI for cover letters.
Mm-hmm.
And would you tell me a bit more about how that went?
Sure. So I have used a prior student's cover letter as an example from the past, and I will typically give it to my students. And this is a cover letter. These are the components, but you need to tweak it so that it is applicable to the position you're applying for. And that's what I typically do. And the students who I guess want more of a challenge or want less of a cookie cutter, because it becomes cookie cutter. Everybody's cover letter looks the same, sounds the same. So I encourage them this year to use AI to help generate their cover letter. I did caution them that when they plug in their keywords and let AI know this is for a cover letter, it's going to come out sounding like a rocket scientist wrote it. The individuals from the insurance industry who are interviewing you know that you're a junior and a senior in high school. So if you're giving them a robust, written at the 12th grade level cover letter that you probably didn't even read, you just signed your name at the bottom, you submit it. When you're allowing them to give you feedback on something that you really didn't generate and it really doesn't sound like you, I think that's the disconnect between knowing who the authentic you is and submitting a cover letter to go through a mock interview exercise. So just be mindful that it should reflect who you are.
So, would you tell us a little bit more about mock interviews and how that prepares the student for the real world?
Right. So students spend a lot of time learning about insurance and typically the theory side of it. And then we do some practical exercises. And the intent, I think, of all the classes at the Wilson Talent Center, the Career and Tech Ed environment, is to prepare students to get a job in the industry in which they're studying in. So, sorry, Sam, I lost my train of thought.
That's okay.
Okay, so learning about insurance, taking tests, going through case studies, collaborating with your classmates on different projects is great. And a lot of learning is happening, but the next step is to get you a job. And by going through mock interviews, meeting face to face with somebody, you need to use the soft skills. You need to use your professionalism skills, your communication skills. You need to be able to speak articulate. Yep, that word. Help me.
Articulately.
Is that even a word? Speak with a high level of articulation. My gosh. To what you've done, what you've learned, the things that you've collaborated and the off-campus experiences. You can't do that through AI. It's got to come from your thoughts, from your heart, from your experiences. So without mock interviews, I mean, that's the true test. Do you really know what's going on? Because you can I'm looking at these sticky notes on the wall. These are thoughts from youth. This is not generated from AI. This is their true feelings and thoughts about something, and that still has to be unique and it still has to be real, and that's what they get through mock interviews is that real world experience. Hmm.
So you would say that AI is a great tool for helping with, certain tasks that could be automated, but people are always going to need soft skills.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I don't want I that's what I fear the most is that those soft skills and that human connection is going to be overshadowed by the ease of use of AI.
Do you have any other apprehensions regarding AI and whether it's education or insurance?
Um, Apprehensions, I think it might replace jobs. It can be done more efficiently, I think, through AI, maybe more automated. I think that, of course, it will help on the insurance side some definitely some career paths to be more efficient and productive, but I do think it's going to impact the workforce. Absolutely, it's going to impact education. I think students might find it as a tool that is very easy to use and very easy to get work done. There's got to be a balance. There's got to be a balance. I mean, as far as the education side of it, I would love to use it to help make my job easier. I don't think it's going to take over my job. I think it helps me to be more creative and productive and allow me to create assignments that are um, higher level thinking, produces some more problem solving, critical thinking assignments. But there's just got to be a healthy balance, Sam,
Of course.
and how it's used.
So, I think I'm gonna redo the part about the lesson plans because I'm not sure if it caught that, and that's one thing I really want to get in this.
Okay. Oh, right, right. When I said that,
Yeah.
okay.
You've mentioned that you've used AI to some
Mhm.
degree. How have you used it in your career?
Yeah. So we had an instructor at the beginning of the last school year talk about AI. She did a couple of workshops, gave us some websites that we could go to that were free and easy to use. And I'm even with insurance, I like to be creative. I like to come up with my own ideas. But there were some days where I'm like, you know what? I'm going to check this out and I'm going to delve into this tool a little bit deeper and plugged in some keywords, came up with some really amazing assignments that I wouldn't have come up with on my own because, like I mentioned, the higher level thinking and it came up with it in lickety split. So I had a variety of 5 or 6 pieces that I could pull out of this AI generated lesson plan that wasn't part of the insurance curriculum, that wasn't part of anything that I've been using, and I probably wouldn't have thought of it on my own. So I appreciated the fact that it's helping me do a better job at my job.
Good.
Hmm.
Let's see, what else did we go over?
Um, I think some of the pieces we went over, I mean, I touched upon the fact that, I mean, I think there's a definite separation between how AI is going to be used in education as opposed to healthcare and food production and research. And I mean, there's a gamuts galore of how it's going to be used and how it's going to affect those different spaces. But um, I think we'll be interested to know how some school districts are allowing their students to use it and the decisions they make, and then when they come to me, which is a career and tech ed center, what we're going to allow them or encourage them to do with it.
So, what would you like to see changed in relation to AI in education?
I think, well, maybe not changed because it's really all brand new to us, but I think, like I mentioned earlier, I think our school district is at the forefront, Ingham ISD, in promoting the use of AI, understanding it, helping educators feel more comfortable with it, maybe more professional development around it, so that all of the classes, auto tech and construction and bioscience, that we can all use it um, as we see fit and beneficial to education.
So, are there any steps you're taking right now to learn more about this new technology?
So I am enrolled in a class through Michigan Virtual, and I have plans in the next week or two to delve into that class and be able to collaborate with some other instructors who have taken the class and to learn more about it so I'm more comfortable, more educated about it. I can have conversations with my peers and with my students and really, I mean, it's exciting. It's a brand new world. Oh my gosh, like you mentioned earlier, there's so much that can be done in all arenas of life. So I think it'll be a good journey for all of us to move forward with this school year.
So, for your students, um, what would you define as a correct way of using AI versus an incorrect way?
Oh my gosh, Sam. Well, that's a broad question. And correct way, like I mentioned before, students are going to use it um, at their discretion. As much as I'd like to think under my direction, the best ways to use it, again, I'm still learning all about it. So I think students are going to take the ball and run with it. And I think there will be remediation steps that will be taken again in my classroom as opposed to an English classroom or another one where I'm picturing it in this report writing, letter writing aspect. I think most of what I do and the learning that happens is pretty authentic, but again, it's going to be a journey for both sides to see how it's used and if it's being used properly and to what extent. I want my students to be human and have that connection and not lose it.
So, you'd say that it's a good tool, but you still need to be authentic?
Oh, absolutely. Do you think so?
Yes, of course.
Yes. Yes.
So, as this technology continues to change, uh, what would you like to see? What kind of new technology would you be interested in?
I mean, as far as an educator, technology that allows us to keep up with the learning styles and levels of students from your generation.
So, something to help connect with students. I like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Not sure if we covered this one, but what do you think should be implemented at like a policy level for teachers to help better inform and educate students as far as AI?
Well, I think that starts with the leadership in your school district, your local school district, or your ISD. Think they are the ones that would set clear guidelines and instruction on AI, how we're using it, what our thoughts about it district wide are. I mean, because we are a team, we are a family, so it's I don't think it's an individualized piece in my setting. I decide to do it this way, and this person does. That we're all on board, and we all share the same mission and vision of how this tool is going to best serve us.
So, to get everyone on the same page, you would like accessible resources to inform teachers about.
Yes, there's no doubt that there will be a ton of professional development. Somebody's going to put a Google Drive together or a classroom or something with all of these resources, which can be sometimes overwhelming. But I think when teachers start getting into using AI in their classroom, I think it'll be clearly evident how it's going to be beneficial.
Good.
Mhm. And with you being part of that pilot program for the student group to learn about AI and to be the advocates. And I wish you were still going to be at our school because I think students need to hear, and there are some students in programs who are not tech savvy at all, and they don't, this kind of thing will scare them. And it's individuals like you and students like you who would help encourage and inspire and lead the way. So it's pretty amazing that you were part of this project and quite prestigious in my mind that you were invited because we've got almost 900 students in the center and you were part of a core group, first time ever, pioneer. I mean, that's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome.
So you would like to see resources for students to learn about?
Yes, yes. So that means you need to come back.
All right,
And
fine.
I know, fine. Let me cut every 500 other things out of my life. Yeah, that's actually a valid point, Sam, that there are kids in some programs who aren't like kids in new media and cybersecurity and even my class. They're the more hands-on classes, building houses and fixing cars, and boy, AI could change their world.
Oh
I
yeah,
don't know if they know enough about it.
right.
I don't think anybody does. But lots and lots of research is happening and will continue to be tracked, for a lifetime to see what the benefits and um, the detriments of what it's created. But it's nothing we're going to stop. And I remember when
Oh yeah.
dial up happened. Oh my gosh, this world. Oh, what's going to happen? Oh, here we are. It's helped. It's
Yeah.
helped. I mean, there's always pros and cons, especially, technology moves at such a fast pace. Um, but you're not going to stop it. You embrace it and um, hope that it's more positive than negative. It helps in all aspects of life. So I'd like to see the advances that it does outside of education too.
That was great. I'm gonna use that for like an intro or something.
What did I say?
It, I don't know.
Something.
Yeah, it was like it's here. We have to embrace it or
Yes.
something. Yeah, that was.
Yeah.
So, a recent survey by Microsoft shows that more and more employers are valuing hiring people who have AI skills.
Mhm.
So, do you think that more resources offered by educators could help, high school students, college students, or
Mhm.
anybody become a better candidate for any career?
Yeah, I mean, I would want to speak to somebody specifically in the insurance industry to find out how they're using AI and what they're looking for in a candidate as far as um, someone's ability to use AI and what that looks like exactly. So I think I would want to go to the employer to say, how would this impact hiring somebody who has knowledge and skills in using AI?
Yeah.
Because it looks different in
Right.
every industry. Hmm.
Yeah,
But I
back.
think people would be hard pressed to find a teenager or a young adult who doesn't have more technology skills than they do, because as we've talked a million times, people that are, aging out of industry are Gen X, baby boomers, and we didn't grow up in the plethora of technology that you are. So um, just coming in with technology skills, period, is you've already nailed it. So
Well, thank you.
yeah.
Uh,
And I don't even know, Sam, if employers, again, a lot of employers are my age um, or older, if they even know what they're looking for. I think maybe the younger population and the companies and the organization are the ones that are making those decisions. And so there are probably a lot of people in the industry that don't know what they're looking for. They just know this is here and we better figure it out.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's good.
Hmm. feel like AI just came out of nowhere.
Oh
I feel like I
yeah.
was watching iRobot with Will Smith about 20 years ago, and then I was like, oh my gosh, robots are going to take over the world and they're going to do everybody's job. And they are. I mean, they're not doing everybody's job, but they are making things more streamlined, more efficient, more productive. You know, there's no work comp claims. You got a robot now. It's just a commercial property claim now. But
Right.
I mean, but I remember watching it and would be thinking, oh my gosh, this is what the world is coming to. And then, you know, like I said, the internet and now AI, it's like, quite honestly, things are pretty much the same in my mind. It's not iRobot world
Right.
or whatever those Tom Cruise movies were, The Matrix and all those things where life gets weird.
Right. It's not near as
No,
dystopian as people
no,
think.
no. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
I'd like to see AI really impact healthcare and climate change and food production and things like that that are, I think, on a much larger scale. Um, I'd like to see, yeah, what it can do in that arena.
Right. This technology has so many applications for helping
Yes,
people.
yeah. I say medicine and healthcare is at the top. Yeah,
All righty.
that was good. All right, well, hopefully it got everything this time.
Yeah, it did.